This is Algebra 1, Term 5, Lesson 14, Whiteboard Challenge. This is the second of 2 whiteboard challenges this year, and this one is to get ready for the benchmark exam, which will happen next time. So let's look at our schedule and what's going on right now in this course. We are coming to the end of the 5th 6 weeks term, and here we are at the whiteboard challenge. The only thing we're going to do in this lesson is the whiteboard challenge. So there is no slide presentation. There are no other activities. There are 34 items in this challenge, so it will definitely take you a whole period. And it is unlikely that you will get through all the problems, which is normal. I normally do not. I randomly choose problems in the packet to do, so I try to pick the ones I really think they need to do the most first, and then the things that are left over, that's fine. They don't have to do them. We've already done a really thorough mixed review in lesson 13, so this is just kind of gravy on top, and it's also a lot of fun. So let's take a look at the problems that are on this whiteboard challenge. So if you're seeing this whiteboard challenge for the first time, let's go over the rules really quickly. The students will be seated in teams. I had 6 groups in my class always, and my teams varied from 2 to 4 kids per team. The students all have a copy of this packet in paper packet, and then they would have a pen or pencil and then some kind of device, whether it be a handheld calculator or the Desmos graphing calculator, their Chromebooks. Of course, we know on Chromebooks they're going to use PhotoMath and they're going to use other things, so unless you have a good system, and we had GoGuardian, so we could kind of lock them down to just the calculator or whatever, but if you don't have that, it might be good to have maybe handheld calculators for just this, or just kind of keep an eye on them. The teams will work the problems. Every person works the problems on the paper. They take turns writing it on a whiteboard. So each team only has one whiteboard and one marker, and one student will write on the whiteboard, and you do have to kind of have them pass each time. I usually stop and go, okay, pass the board to the next person. And then they'll write their work and their answer on the board, and then they'll put it face down on their desk and leave it there until time is called. So I showed you one of these in an earlier video, and I just wanted to go through it again. This is how I keep tally and the numbers of the teams. That's how they're seated in the room, just like you see them there. And you'll notice these are the numbers on the board, but I'm looking at them facing them, so these are kind of written backwards from the way they're written here. It's kind of weird, but as the kids are working items, I'm working an item like this one. I'm working it out on the board, and then as soon as everybody's points have been awarded, and I put the points here that they've earned, so they didn't do too good on one of these because only one team got a point, then I put the answer up so that they can make corrections in their packets, and I usually move it down one and then put the new one at the top. That way they have a little time. If they didn't get it, it'll still be there for at least a little while, and then I'll take the one off the bottom and use it to do a problem. But this is how I keep tally, and you'll notice I put circles around these. These all tied at the end of the game. They had the least amount of points, and so they won the whiteboard challenge. It is so loud with some classes. Some classes are a little more reserved, but I'd say the majority of my students are very noisy when they play this game, and it's a lot of fun. I always enjoy myself. I wouldn't do it all the time, though, because just like anything else, they get bored with it if you do it too often. So I do it once per semester. The points are given away to other teams, and that's what makes it a rowdy kind of fun game for some students. I've only had one class that really didn't respond well to this game, and we had to do something else that day, but most kids really enjoy it. So the problems on this in this packet are a variety of problems going back to the very first term. So here's solving a linear equation, correlation coefficients, what does that reveal? The absolute value equation, we haven't done that since way back. Here we have a function. They're going to classify the function, give the vertex, y-intercept, and range. We did a little bit of that in the last lesson. Here they have a perimeter of a rectangle. Write an equation relating the side lengths, x and y. Write another equation for the area as a function of the width, and what is the maximum possible area. Now, a lot of kids may just get the first part, and that's why I give them points per part. So if they can get that 1 point if they are able to get part A, and then maybe give, I don't know, you could give 2 points for one of the parts if you want to count the points differently. That's totally up to you. On number 6, they're to write an equation and restrict the domain, so you could give them maybe 2 points for that, 1 for the equation, 1 for the domain. For number 7, they'll solve the inequality. It's up to you whether you want them to show their work. You might give them a point for showing the steps and then 1 for the actual answer. On number 8, they're looking for numbers that are rational. They could just list those out. Same on number 9, list out the irrational numbers. And then for number 10, they're going to use this graph and interpret that graph and answer some questions about it. So each part could be 1 point. You might even do 2 points, because on part A it says what is the y-intercept, so that could be a point, and what does it reveal? That could be a separate point. What I've discovered is the more points I can give them, the happier they seem to be. So if it's got 3 or 4 parts, I definitely am going to give them 3 or 4 points for getting all the parts. For number 11, they're classifying and writing an equation, so that could be a 2-point problem. For number 12, there's 2 numbers they're interpreting, so again, you could count them each separately. For 13, several of these points are solutions, so you can make them each a point or half a point or however you want to do it. And then for number 14, they're going to convert. You could maybe have them show their work for 1 point and give the final answer for the other. 15, they're classifying, and then they are writing an equation. Now to classify, you can classify by type of sequence, or you could classify by type of function. You could say classified as in many ways as you want. You could give them points if they could do both of those. I did put both of them on the key. For number 16, this one's kind of interesting. It's a true problem and does take a while to read and make sense of it. So you could give them lots of points for number 16 if you wanted to. Maybe if they just come up with the types of numbers used and can't even get the number, you could give them a point for that, and that would be good. For number 17, solve the equation and label each step with inverse operations or the properties that are being used. Number 18, write the expression in simplest radical form. Again, 3 points, 3 parts. Number 19, you're classifying and writing an equation. For 20, you're doing average rate of change of a function over an interval. For 21, you're writing an equation of an exponential function as a function of x, which is years or time. On 22, there's a piecewise function. You're evaluating it at 3 different values of x. For 23, you're interpreting a residual plot. 24, you're solving for y. Now, something I didn't indicate on 24 is this is actually a formula for something in the real world or for an object. So normally we have a plus minus when we take a square root, but they don't need the plus minus in this case. However, if they put it, I don't know that I would count that off because it doesn't say anything. So in the answer key, I did not put the plus minus, but just know the plus minus, it's really okay if they want to put it. For 25, how is the parent function transformed to create this? So there's actually 3 different transformations here. You could maybe give them a point for each one. For 26, they're listing the vertex of this function, then they're writing it in standard form, and then they're identifying the y-intercept of the graph. For 27, they are finding the number of seconds it will take for this object to reach the ground. This is a typical vertical motion problem. They do need to round their answer off. You could give them maybe 1 point if they get it, not round it off, and 2 points if they get it. I don't know. For 28, they're solving the formula for m. 29, they're simply describing, so they're really going to just put a couple of words here. Is it dashed or solid? So they'll choose one of those. Is it shaded above or below? And they'll choose one of those. For 30, they're converting from miles per hour into kilometers per hour. So dimensional analysis, we just did that. So we'll see if they remember it. For 31, they're multiplying 2 binomials to get a trinomial. Doesn't say to put it in standard form or descending or anything, so you might want to consider giving it to them no matter the order. For 32, the parent function is transformed. What is the vertex of the new function? What is an equation for the axis of symmetry? And over what interval of x is f of x increasing? Now, what I really like about Whiteboard Challenge is it gets kids to try problems that some of these kids don't like to do, these types of packets and this type of work, but in this activity, they find it a little more palatable. And not only that, but I work the items along with them and put them up So I tell them, as soon as the problem is finished and points have been assigned, then I put the answer up for them to look at it, and they do want to know, did I get it? Why didn't I get the point? Or why did I get the point? And so I put it up and also show them alternatives. So if there's more than one way to write it, I might put them both up there to show there's different things they could have done. And they learn quite a bit just by even making mistakes. They learn some things. So be sure to show them how to do these problems and work them right alongside them. That's always good. For 33, we're doing a distance time graph, and we're asking lots of questions, so tons of points. This would probably be my finale. If I were doing this activity, I might save this one towards the end because this is when the points start really counting. So when kids get a lot of points, they have a lot of points to assign to other teams. It can get really interesting and loud too. This says, over what interval of time is Maxine stopped? And how fast did she walk for the first 10 minutes? So that's a rate of change. And then what does the expression d of 14 equals 2600 mean in this context? So using the labels in the graph, describe that. What is happening? And then for the last question, if d of 22.5 is equal to 0, then what is Maxine's speed on the interval from 14 to 22.5? I think you got to round that one off, by the way. And then the last question for the whiteboard challenge is about an exponential function describing the population of a town. And so they're just going to answer 3 questions about it. Now, there is a detailed answer key. I didn't work out every little piece completely detailed, but you at least have an answer for every single question, along with a Common Core standard attached to each one of these questions. So you will receive that. I'm not going to show you the answers because I don't want the kids getting on here and running your whiteboard challenge. So let's take a look at what's coming next. Now, the benchmark exam is next class period. I have it scheduled for 2 days. This will be a full end of course exam style assessment that you can use in whatever way you want. You could pare it down and make it a 1-day assessment if you don't want to do the whole thing. You could do it exactly as it's written. It will have a performance task component, and I do know a lot of states are moving away from that and just doing multiple choice, just doing short answer, simple things. So feel free not to do the performance task if you want to drop it, or you could rework it and make maybe an answer bank or give them some answer choices for those if you'd rather them do it that way. As always, you will get a Google Doc version, editable version in the full course guide. As always, the benchmark exam, just like all the other tests, I don't put those out because if I put them out, they ruin them, of course. So I do have them available in my store. If you do buy the bundle, it will give you a editable Google Doc for the benchmark exam so that you can turn it into whatever you need to turn it into to use it with your kids. The pair assessment answer doc is simply that. It's an answer document that goes along with the test. There is a PDF version of the test inside that. As we know, the end of course exams for our states are pretty much 100% digital, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to let them work in a digital environment exclusively. I have not written any tests this year that are straight pair assessment tests for you guys, but I do have lots of them. So that's something I'm thinking about doing. I don't know how to sell that through TPT. I don't know if they'd even like that, but I might do it. I might just create a test, a digital version of some of these tests and put those in there if you want to just give the test straight in pair assessments. All right, we're almost done with this course. The next 6 weeks, the last 6 weeks, is an abbreviated term. It only has 7 lessons, and they will be over statistics and a little review of some of these other topics. We will have a final exam at the end. The final exam is much, much less comprehensive than the benchmark exam. So really this benchmark exam is kind of like your full course exam. It's going to tell you what your kids have learned. And then you'll have maybe a little time before you have to give your actual state test, I hope, to do something with this benchmark. Ideally, this benchmark will happen when you're finished with everything through lesson 514. But as always, in our classes, we don't always stick to our pacing, and we end up having to give some of our benchmark exams before we're really ready. So you can give it whenever you want to, and that's why that editable Google Doc will be such a great asset for you. If y'all have any questions or need anything specific, or maybe just some more extra practice on some of the topics that we've covered in the course, let me know. Y'all have a great day.